All right, everybody, we apologize for breaking into there, but we do have a tornado warning now until 6:45 for sections of Ozark and Douglas County and a little section of eastern Taney County. We've been talking about these thunderstorms that are down by the Thornfield area, and that's about where the tornado is, just a little bit to the southwest of Thornfield tonight. That's going to run up Highway 95 up towards the Wasola area. So folks that are on 95 on up towards where Highway 5 junctions in need to be on the lookout for some severe weather moving in your location this evening. So as far as the storm track itself goes, the storm is moving off to the northeast at about 35 miles per hour. It's going to affect areas of Thornfield, Noble, Martha, Brushy Knob, and Drury are in the path of this thunderstorm. And again, there's lots of lightning, also very heavy rain. So there may be some not only continuous lightning, but also some flooding that's going to occur on some of those roads because they are saturated from the rains that we had earlier this morning. So again, if you live down here in western Ozark County, to the west of Highway 5, northwest of Gainesville, over towards Thornfield, up towards the Wasola area, and then up just to the southeast of Ava, and that's going to come into sections of Highway 76 up in there. Highway 95 is going to be up in that eventual vicinity, and then that could keep going all the way up towards the Mountain Grove area. So if you live in Mountain Grove, you're not under a warning yet, but certainly you want to watch that storm that's off to your southwest this evening. So you can see it's a very formidable thunderstorm in there. Now, these tornadoes tonight are going to be kind of small, embedded within the rain. I don't know if they're going to be great, big, huge tornadoes. This atmosphere has been worked over pretty good down here. However, the atmosphere is spinning quite a bit, so we don't have a lot of growth on those thunderstorms. What we do have is a lot of spin in the atmosphere. So I think what's going to happen is these things are going to spin up very quickly. I think they're going to be embedded in the rain. They're not going to be the traditional tornadoes. They're going to move very quickly at, like we said, 35 to 45 miles per hour this evening, and so they're going to be very quick hitters. Now, they will continue to go from southwest to northeast, and as long as they're out in front of that main line, that's where we're going to have to be concerned with these potential tornadoes this evening. Looks like, did we get another one? Looks like we had another one down here. So areas around Pontiac. This is coming out of Diamond City. We were trying to actually watch. Let me kind of get out of this just a little bit here. And what we'll do is kind of slide this thing back to the south and west. And so basically, we have these two lines of thunderstorms, and this is the leading edge of the first cluster of thunderstorms out there. Now, this one does, as you can see, have a little appendage on it to the south and west. That's been moving up towards Diamond City. That's going to be the west end of the Bull Shoals Lake area off of Highway 7, Highway 14 up in there. And so that thing is also going to continue moving north up towards the Pontiac area, and it may be eventually up towards Theodosia. So we have tornado warnings along that whole line this evening tonight. So as we kind of zoom on into some of this and see what's been happening here this evening, we'll want to take a look at this. Let's see, why are we not doing this? Anyway. Why can't I? Yeah, it looks like I've frozen up here. All right, so the bottom line is that if you live here around Theodosia, on up towards Thornfield, I need for you guys to be in your tornado shelters this evening. So again, you'll want to go to the lowest level of your house. If you have a basement, or a storm shelter, that's the best place to go. Otherwise, move to the interior sections of the house. Put as many walls between you and the outside as you can possibly get. Small interior areas like a walk-in closet or a bathroom are going to be better. Try to go to rooms without any windows or without any high ceilings. So those are the places that you want to go tonight. Also, make sure everybody gets dressed, because if you have to move quickly, you want to make sure that you have shoes and clothes on. And if you have some sort of a helmet to protect your head, that's also a good idea. The other thing is I want you to make sure you stay away from anything that could catch fire this evening. So again, that's going to be a real issue. Don't have anything that could actually catch fire. Did we actually get that straightened out here? Or
but I have max 3 set up, so if we can switch over to max 3, I have a severe show for you set up right there.
All right. Okay, so if we can go over to our third max box. Excuse me. I'm kind of fighting this cold here. See what we can do. All righty, there we go. Okay, let me step off. And you can see that we have those two lines of thunderstorms that I was talking about there. Okie doke. All righty, so again, you can see the thunderstorms that we're talking about. There's the look at the spins. One is going to be just to the southwest of Noble. Another one, maybe a little bit of a spin just off of Highway 160 in the Theodosia area. And then you can see a tighter circulation now in northwestern sections of Marion County, Arkansas. So that is the three spins that we're looking at tonight along that line. So there really could be a tornado with any one of those features this afternoon. So again, big heads up, keep your head on a swivel. Make sure that you're telling and calling folks who may be in the path of that thunderstorm to go ahead and take shelter. Notice there's lots of lightning with those as well.
Just a quick update for you, Ron.
All right, so at any rate, so that's what we're dealing with tonight as far as those three circulations there. All righty, let's switch back over to our first machine if we can. And there you go. So let me just kind of recenter this here just a little bit. Take off the storm track. And we can kind of zoom in just a little bit here so that you can see a little bit better definition of what's going on. Okay, so we talked about the circulations. We talked about the high winds. We could see winds tonight that could be gusting somewhere around 50 to 60 miles per hour with some of these storms as well. And again, that can do a fair amount of damage as well. So again, tonight we have several things going on. One, we have the potential for tornadoes, we have the potential for high winds, and we have the potential for very heavy flooding rain, which is what we're seeing out of some of these areas here. Now, you'll notice that they just eliminated one of the warnings. But we still have a couple of tornado warnings in there. And again, we have until 6:45, this one in Ozark, Taney, and Douglas County, and probably till about 7 o'clock or so, 6:45 or 7, this one in northwestern Marion County, Arkansas here. So this actually looks to be the strongest of the storms, maybe a little better the spin. It's down around South Lead Hill, and it's actually moving up into northwestern Marion County right now. So that's going to move over the west end of the Bull Shoals Lake here very quickly tonight. And again, folks that are there, probably just a little bit south of the Pro Tem area, if you're in Pro Tem, you'll want to be taking shelter from that storm, as it looks like it's going to hit the junction right there at 125 and the ferry going over the Bull Shoals Lake area. So again, if you live in the Pro Tem area, I need for you guys to be taking shelter. You know, it also looks like there's going to be a real shot of wind in there as well. So I would be prepared to be without power. There may be some trees and power lines that come down with that thunderstorm as well. And then with this thunderstorm up in here, there's also a little appendage around the Thornfield area. This is Highway 95, and again, it's going to go right up 95. So if you live along Highway 95, either side of the road, I need for you guys to also be in your tornado shelters this evening. They're in western sections of Ozark County. Let's see. All righty.
And Ron, I'm over here on Max 2, and I'm here at the RPA, and we're kind of talking about these storms rotating. And so I was interested in pulling up what we call our shear tracks, how far and how long these storms have kind of been rotating. And we've had one storm in particular heading back up through Diamond City right now, where we have been looking at a good amount of rotation with this storm moving in for a while. It was issued as a severe thunderstorm warning, and now potentially we are looking at a tornado back over. This is going to be kind of just south of Diamond City, but we're looking at these storms back from around Diamond City, Theodosia, Thornfield, like Ron mentioned, rotating for quite some time. So you can see here behind me, we have the storm around Diamond City. This blue, these blues you see indicating a good amount of rotation. Now, whether that rotation is actually making it to the ground is the question. So as always, it's best to act like it is. These are tornado warnings, and you need to get in your shelter, your safe room right now. You see that rotation around Theodosia. We have a weather watcher over in Theodosia. Thornfield looking at some rotation as well. And we kind of have these little inflow notches right ahead of these storms. They actually have a good amount of inflow coming in with rain mostly off behind them. So they have nice clean air coming into these storms. And I do want to remind you, this is a tornado warning, so you need to get in your shelter immediately. And so here's where you need to go in your home. We're talking about the most interior room of your house, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That might be underneath some stairs if you have stairs. Could be an interior hall or an interior closet or even a bathroom. But the most important thing you need to know is that this room should not have any windows. And it's always best if you can take something in that room with you, whether that be maybe a blanket or a pillow to try and protect your head. Always good to have maybe a bike helmet. Bring your bike helmet in there as well. And of course, if you have a basement, that's going to be your safest spot. If you are in an apartment building, it's best to get to the lowest level of the apartment building as well. So I want to jump here back into radar, and we will look at these tornado warnings again. These are the only warnings that we do have in the area right now, aside from a severe thunderstorm warning that we do have back over across parts of Stone County right now, moving through Shell Knob. That's producing some strong gusty winds. And if you may have seen it on our shear detector, also showing maybe some rotation, that's really just for those strong straight line winds right now rolling through there. So 2 tornado warnings we're watching out for right now. Let's query these. I do believe that they expire at 6:30. That is correct. 6:30 for parts of northwestern Marion County. These storms have been moving very quickly off to the north and east today. And then the tornado warning continues to extend back up through Theodosia. And it does look like they have extended that into Douglas County now as well. So that's not going to include Ava, the city of Ava, but let's zoom in and see some other areas that would include. That includes Gardner, Evans, but right now, Evans, you're barely even raining currently. Areas where we're watching kind of this inflow is going to be back over towards Noble right now, and also back moving towards Notting Hill. You're kind of on the edge of that tornado warning currently, and back over, let's say, northeast of Prodom right now. We have this inflow notch right here that we are watching closely. And also maybe even some hail right here. You see the pinks indicated some heavy rain, the potential for at least maybe some small quarter-size hail within that thunderstorm right there. That's going to be back, let's say, east of 125 and Highway 160. If you know anyone who takes 160 around this time, it's about 6:20. Some people still doing a late evening commute back over maybe from Theodosia. Give them a call right now. Tell them to stay off the roads, or if they are on the road, get off immediately and take shelter maybe in a gas station. But once again, most interior room with absolutely no windows in this room as well. So it looks like they have now issued a severe thunderstorm warning to include Diamond City, Lead Hill, Peel. Let's see the details for this severe thunderstorm warning right here.
We have, we're getting some reports of power outages in Squires too. So the circulation has crossed into Douglas County to the northeast of the Wasola area. So folks up there in southern sections of Dallas or Douglas County need to be on the lookout for severe weather. Also, you may have noticed I just issued another tornado warning now for sections of Stone, Christian, and northwestern Taney County.
Yes, so new tornado warning out. We are looking at these kind of inflows right here. I'm assuming that that's probably obviously out ahead of that line, so they're trying to warn people in advance north of Kimberling City around the Reed Springs, Saddlebrook, Highlandville area to get in your shelter right now. That warning, let's get the details there. That's going to go until 6:45 as well. And let's check out the rotation with that storm system.
Well, that's on the leading edge of that bow echo right there too.
Yeah.
So
it's
we're
very
likely to be
common.
getting some very high winds with that as well. So again, that tornado warning, as you said, goes until 6:45 with that. So again, with that bow echo, we're looking at very strong winds coming out of that, maybe creating a circulation And again, those other thunderstorms out ahead of that in northwestern Marion County onto sections of Ozark County, those are some pretty strong thunderstorms in there that have had some pretty good circulation. Those are the ones that I think probably warrant a lot of attention for some folks around Highway 95 right now, Danielle.
Yeah, you can kind of see maybe a little bit here. Some of the latest scans actually seem to maybe weaken the rotation as it does move in. But what happens when you have some of those bowing segments, it is very common to see some inflow coming in and see some rotation starting up along the leading edge of those bowing segments. So very common to see that. We are looking at that tornado warning back there, let's see, across parts of Stone, Taney, into Christian County. If you are in those areas, be sure to take shelter. I will say, though, yeah, the rotation a little bit further away from the radar, back over into parts of far southeastern Taney into Ozark and Douglas County. Those two areas of rotation do definitely look better. But, yeah, we still want you to be in your safe room, your shelter area if you are in Taney into Stone and into Christian County too. So right now I want to show you kind of where we are looking at these areas of rotation and maybe talk about some closer cities. So this is kind of the spot we're looking at right now. And we can see kind of all of these county roads right here back over towards Theodosia. This will be moving off to the north. And like I said, these storms are moving fast. And you can see that these storms are kind of training behind one another. So we have the area of rotation north of Noble. We have the area of rotation heading up in towards Theodosia. Both of these tracking off to the north and east. And then we have that bowing segment actually from Taney and into, let's see, Taney, Stone County, tracking over into Christian County as well, that are tracking a little bit more off to the east. And it does look like we're seeing a little bit more rotation right now. Again, with maybe that storm back over here. That's going to be south of Crane towards Elsie.
Right. On Max 1, we can actually see the correlation coefficient, Danielle. And so what we're looking at is right here by Elsie. See that bright spot in there? The National Weather Service thinks that there may have been some tornado damage down around Elsie. So that thing is moving over just to it's kind of moving up here to the northeast. So it's going to just pass Ponce and then head up towards the Highlandville area, maybe just outside of the Spokane area. So folks down in southwestern Christian County need to be on the lookout for a pretty strong thunderstorm with a pretty good line of winds that's coming in your area this evening. And so that is what has prompted the tornado warning for that area. It also does include areas around Reed Spring, areas of 248 up towards Saddlebrook in northwestern Taney County. So folks along Highway 65 are also going to have to pay attention to that thunderstorm that's going to be coming in that area. And also, Ron, if you're traveling between Springfield and Branson, keep an eye on that storm off to the west.
Ron, I do want to say that they have now confirmed a tornado in Douglas County.
Okay.
It's now confirmed, and you can also, on correlation coefficient, start to see some debris there as well. And that's far out from the radar, so that debris would definitely be lofted a bit higher.
Okay, well, that would be the correlation coefficient. Looks like it's kind of right in here, maybe. That's going to be just to the south of, well, this is 76. This is going to be Highway 14. So Highway 14, about 4 or 5 miles to the west of 95 is what we're looking at in there. So there may be a smaller tornado right in there. So that's getting on the outer edge of that warning. So you can see they've now extended that warning up into northeastern Douglas County. So that's going to include highways 76 and 95. And again, that's going to take it up just to the south of the Mountain Grove area. So again, I was giving you a heads up. That now has taken place, and folks up there in northeastern Douglas County need to be moving to your tornado shelter because of this potential tornado that they have detected right there off of Highway 14. So again, that thing is going to be shooting off to the north very quickly at about 35 miles per hour this evening. So again, that's what we're watching there. We can kind of see if we can have some, you can see there's a very tight circulation right in there, just east of 5, but again, these things are moving so fast that it's probably up towards 14 now. And again, headed off to the north and to the east. Danielle?
And you know, I'm looking at this storm back over in Ozark County right now, and what we're seeing is this really large, what we call a bounded weak ecoregion. It's classic when we have these supercells. So you see, we have this inflow right here. This is where the tornado is going to be. This is going to be just southwest of Theodosia. However, radar does lag behind a little bit, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was heading back up over towards Theodosia right now. And where we see this little pink bullseye, that's a really large hail core that we're tracking. So the potential for at least quarter to maybe even golf ball size hail or larger. That indicates a really strong, powerful storm system. And of course, we are looking at a good amount of rotation. It's not a super tight together couplet. It's overall a really large couplet we're tracking right here, but where we have the reds to this kind of blue color you see, indicating a very large area of rotation right now back over in Ozark County, tracking up towards Theodosia. And let's check out correlation coefficient. It looked a bit interesting, like I mentioned, though. I definitely think there's some hail in that storm right there, at least, or at the potential maybe for some debris to be lofted really high. So what we're seeing right here with these greens, this yellowish color you see, indicating there is something in the air that's not supposed to be there, whether that be hail, whether that be some debris. So you need to take this storm very seriously, because if it is producing some large hail, could cause some major damage. There's the latest radar scan, though, removed it completely. So we'll continue to watch this storm. I don't want to say just because that scan now kind of cleared it on out that everything is all good. We do still have a tornado warning. I believe this one goes until, we'll query this one right here, 6:45. So we have about 15 more minutes on that warning. If you are in Ozark County, parts of southwestern Ozark County, you need to get in your safe room right now. Looks like maybe this area, this rotation kind of right here, this inflow is starting to shrink up a bit. And like I mentioned, I thought it would be back over towards Theodosia, and there it is right there. So this is tracking off to the north and east. These moving fast. There's also this other little inflow notch right here that I don't want to forget about. This is going to be southwest of Notting Hill, currently heading off to the north and east. And of course, we do have this confirmed tornado back over in Douglas County right now. And it looks like they did now expand this tornado warning in Ozark County, kind of stretching it a little bit further off to the east. This one goes until 7 p.m. That is going to be northwest of Gainesville right here. And we will move on.
Yeah, so they have a damage considerable tag on that tornado for the Douglas County area. And if you come over here to Max 1, I actually have the storm track on here so we can see the arrival time. So if you live in the Brushy Knob area, 6:41, up towards Norwood at 6:55. Again, that could move into the Mountain Grove area as well. You know, kind of lightly populated up in here in northeastern sections of Douglas County. But again, folks up in there need to take shelter from that storm. And you can see they're kind of spreading these tornado warnings. They've got another kind of bow echo that's developing. Going to be some high winds down here along the Douglas County, Ozark County line. So folks here in northern, right here along the line, can expect some really strong winds and a potential tornado there too. And again, the atmosphere has a lot of spin to it tonight. So as these things really develop further and are capable of producing that hail, a lot of these thunderstorms are going to be spinning tonight. And even if we go kind of clear this off.
Ron, on correlation coefficient, you have to show it. I mean, we are talking about significant debris being lofted very high in the air right now. And we are decently far away from the radar, so this is pretty significant. I'll jump over to that right here so you can see.
There it is now. Yeah, I've got it on the radar.
We have this spot. Let's jump over to Ron. I want him to show this to you guys.
Yeah, but you can see this right here on Highway 14. So again, we were talking about that, and that's the debris that we're seeing. So again, we do have a fairly sizable tornado that's down here in south central Douglas County. It is crossing 14 and is going to be headed on up towards 76. It is to the west of Highway 95. So folks that are in there, there's a couple of ridges and stuff down in here, especially if you live on the ridges, you'll want to be moving to your tornado shelter, as this thing is going to be moving very, very quickly. So again, that's going to pass probably about 3 or 4 miles to the west of the 95-76 junction, and then that's going to take it up just to the south of Norwood to the west of 95, but that could eventually take it into the Mountain Grove area. So if you live in Mountain Grove, I need for you to really pay attention to the progress of this thunderstorm tonight. If it holds together and it's moving very quickly, it could be up into Wright County here very quickly, maybe the next 20 or 30 minutes or so. So again, you can see the debris that Danielle was talking about with that thunderstorm there in south central Douglas County. So folks down there tonight, not a good night for you. And again, it's coming with very heavy rain. You can see they just put out the flood advisory for that warning for that county as well. So lots of heavy rain on top of the heavy rain that you had earlier this morning. So it's kind of adding to the misery down there. So again, make sure that you're dressed, make sure you have proper clothes on, and make sure you're taking shelter. Have your storm safety kit with you tonight. Make sure your phone is plugged in case you lose power, and that way you can follow us online on your phone. That you can get additional information, storm warnings, things like that. Maybe we can tell you when the all clear is going to be too, so you can come out of your storm shelter, but you're going to want that information tonight. So again, we have some very bad weather down here in Douglas County. Danielle?
Yeah, I'm trying to do a storm track on this kind of debris because that's where the tornado's at. I'm going to expand it a little bit wider. Right now we're looking at Brushy Knob 638. You're likely in the path of this tornado right now. So Brushy Knob 638, Mountain Grove 702, you're not included in this warning. We have, let's see, Cold Spring 641, Denlow 644, and let's take a closer look. I'll clear this off and let's try and find some of these smaller roads for you to give you a better idea. So we have Evans, we have Vera Cruz, and this is crossing 14 right now as we speak over towards Sweden, riding up Highway C over towards Cold Spring. Denlow also included in this area. It's really going to ride up Highway C, it looks like, and will continue to track its way to the north. So if you are in this area, this is going to be east of Ava. So if you're in Ava, there's a severe thunderstorm just off to your west. You have a tornado warning off to your east. You need to stay weather aware. You're not in the clear, but right now that tornado is going to be east of you. Brushy Knob, though, Evans, you need to be in your safe room right now. Sweden, that storm is right over you, heading over into Vera Cruz right now. This storm is moving to the north and east at about 35 miles an hour right now. Fast moving. It's confirmed. You need to take this very seriously. The potential for a large tornado to be doing damage. And it does look like the latest scan, good news is it's a little bit less debris. However, there is still some hints that it is there. So there's the potential that it is still causing damage. And so, of course, stay in your safe room, interior room, as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and be sure to grab a helmet or anything to protect your head.
Yeah, because if heaven forbid that tornado continues or recycles, Danielle, a lot of the times people get seriously hurt or heaven forbid injured is trauma to the head. So at the very least, covering yourself, covering your head, or getting a bike helmet, baseball helmet, that's just an extra layer of protection to keep people safe. And to piggyback on what you said when you showed the correlation coefficient there, before that news week came in, I was just looking behind the scenes on Radar Scope, a different radar app that we can use here behind the scenes. That debris was being lofted at least 8,000 feet up, if not a little bit higher. So at the very least, you're not talking about an EF0 or EF1 tornado. We don't confirm tornadoes right as soon as they happen. We let the Weather Service decide and assess the damage to determine how strong it was. But at the very least, if we're still seeing signs of debris on there, you have to take it seriously. You have to be in your safe place. And not to mention, again, this isn't the only one that we're watching.
It's happened fast. A bunch of these have started to fire off now. So good indication our environment has really ripened, and it's really happened quickly across the area, but these storms have been trying to rotate for quite some time today.
Yeah, because this storm system has so much wind shear, and that's one of the main reasons why we were keeping a very close eye on the storm system in general, even before the day got going. And as you widen out wisely here, Danielle, that's not the only storm that we're watching. We're watching a couple other circulations, maybe in southwestern parts of Ozark County, and not to mention a new severe thunderstorm warning clipping parts of Greene, southwestern Webster, and much of Christian County and northwestern Douglas County. I will say with this, even though that severe thunderstorm warning, maybe in fact until 7:15 was so far, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail, we cannot rule out some quick spin-ups along that line as it continues eastward. And I'm being told that we need to go back to Chief Meteorologist Ron Hurst. Ron, what do you have?
Well, you guys are talking about some of these thunderstorms, and so what's important is we have that circulation that's down here towards Notting Hill. Danielle was talking about that just a little while ago, but if we do a storm track on that, if you live in Romance, it could be there in 643, Martha, 646, Rockbridge, there by the trout farm, 653, over towards Gentryville at 7, and up towards Buckhart at a little after 7. So again, these are the folks that are going to be in the path of that. Again, there's a really good circulation that's down here in Ozark County. Again, it is also rapidly moving to the north and east, and now they're tracking that thing, eventually maybe moving into Douglas County. So again, as you were saying, we have multiple potential tornadoes that are happening this afternoon in south central Missouri, and so it's important that we continue to take a look at these. Looks like we have more that is now extending back to the south and west of that. And so they're continuing to see this activity continue to build off to the south and to the west. So,
yeah, this tornado warning in Christian County, I want you to take it seriously for sure. But I do think right now I'm not seeing any screaming evidence of a tornado that is causing damage. The rotation right now looks very weak within this line of storms back from Highlandville, from Riverdale through Highlandville down through Saddlebrook. That's heading over towards 65. Of course, 65, a very, very busy very busy highway. So we do not want you guys to be on the road right now. If you're riding there, riding from, let's say, Springfield down through, let's say, Selmore, do not drive down 65. Just take a break. Take a pause, step out to the gas station. If you're here in Greene County, do not drive down 65 heading towards Branson currently, because we are looking at least very strong, potentially damaging winds riding through 65 shortly. It's about to head over towards 160, then crossing 65. This area is tornado warned, but right now I do think it's very likely just causing some extremely strong wind gusts, which of course can topple trees, power lines, and that's even more likely thanks to all of the rain that we've seen the last couple of days, really saturating soils, making it easier for these trees to topple over and could fall on a home. So of course we want you to be in your safe room right now. If you are in this tornado warning in Christian County, it's extended. The severe thunderstorm warning, I should say, is extended back over into parts of Greene County, towards Marshfield and Seymour. You guys need to be on alert there as well. But I am more concerned with these tornado warnings in Ozark and Douglas County right now.
yeah, the one that's in Douglas County, all of this, the rotation seems to be weakening a little bit. This one is the strongest one. And this is the one that we had the damage on just a little while ago. So now it's halfway between 76 and 14 over towards the Brushy Knob area. And again, that one's going to be headed, kind of draw a line on that thing. It looks like it's headed up right here to the south of the Norwood area as it crosses over into the Wright County line. So good news is it looks like it's weakening. It also looks like the circulation is expanding out a little bit. So hopefully it is weakening. But again, very dangerous thunderstorm. You never know when those things are going to tighten back up again. So again, we'll continue to keep an eye on that one. But that is probably the most active and most dangerous of the tornado warnings that we have. Now, there is one just to the southwest of that, but that circulation has also weakened down in Ozark County. It is traveling kind of in the same path as this one. So hopefully this one is interrupting the airflow and helping to weaken that second one. So that's what I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for. But again, this one, we're going to have to keep an eye on that one as it comes up towards 76 Highway. And again, it should cross 76, maybe a little bit further west than I was thinking, maybe some 5 to 8 miles west of the 95 junction. So folks over there need to be moving to your tornado shelter. If you haven't already, you don't have very much time before it's actually going to get there. Now, this thing will parallel 95 to the west. So it is going to be out in the open country, going to be a lot of farms out in there. All those folks also need to be taking shelter from this storm. Nick or Danielle, if you have other information.
I don't have weather chat in front of me, but I do want to let you know that there are more counties in this tornado watch now than a little bit earlier. So we are looking at Texas County, Howell County included in this tornado watch now through 9 p.m. today. Here's a look at all of the alerts that we have ongoing right now. Yellow's going to be the tornado watch. Obviously, the red we're super concerned about. We have several tornado warnings in effect, orange severe thunderstorm warnings, and then that brighter green color you see. Man, we've been talking about some crazy flooding today, especially in south central Missouri, and this area now getting slammed with even more rain. And flooding, it's the #1 killer in the Ozarks, and so something we have to take seriously, these flood alerts that we have as well. And we'll continue to see some totals ranging from, let's see, around 4 to maybe some isolated 6-inch rainfall spots overnight tonight.
And that's on top of what we've seen too much of over the weekend, just an onslaught of rain. And I've been actually keeping an eye on Weather Chat too, behind the scenes here. Nothing really screaming out right now, but I will say with storms that passed near Elsie and Stone County, I will say we did get a report of wind damage, which is either power lines down and at least debris in the Elsie area, but they are unknown where the debris came from. And that was back around 6:17 based on the radar signature, the timing of that. And I'm also keeping an eye on other chats, including the Weather Service out of Tulsa. Not seeing anything immediately coming out of Carroll County or Boone County. And
we can see the debris being lofted there. To me, though, that looks more like straight line wind potentially damage, because you notice it coming in a line right there. So maybe the potential for a tornado to have caused this damage. National Weather Service is the ones who do this assessment, but right now we haven't seen a super tight couplet in this area. There was maybe a brief one around the Elsie area, but now right now this correlation coefficient, the debris tracker, to me mostly right now looking like maybe picking up some large leaves or something such as that to really push these along the wind.
And you bring up an excellent point too, where even though none of this looks to be screaming like an active tornado in progress, and this might be just straight line winds, that doesn't mean you go about your business here. Alone 60-mile-per-hour winds, if this strengthens a little bit more, that could cause more damage on the wide scale compared to if this was a confirmed tornado. So that is why we still have that severe thunderstorm warning in place for northeastern Christian, northwestern Douglas, western and southwestern half really of Webster County, extreme southeastern Greene County. And thankfully, as we pan on back over to eastern Douglas County, east of Ava, that's looking encouraging, Danielle. At least that debris that was lofted with that confirmed tornado earlier looks to have settled out, which, unless something's spinning back up, looks to be lifted, that tornado.
This is 6:31. This is where we were looking at this really large debris ball back over southwest of Ava right here. But over the latest scans, we'll skip this forward. You can see the likely chance of debris has kind of gone away, but I don't want you to let your guard down from this either. The potential for this storm to continue to redevelop and potentially become a tornado causing damage again. So let's jump back over to Ron, because I think he has some more details to talk about.
So, we keep talking about these thunderstorms, and, if you want to example of why it's so difficult sometimes to see tornadoes. If you just take a look at this thunderstorm here, you don't see a storm out by itself. You don't see any huge hook echo. It doesn't really look like a big supercell where we have a lot of intense colors and then kind of this nice hook going down in here. What you see is a big wide area of moderate to heavy rain. However, with Doppler radar, we get to, kind of clean that up a little bit, and then when you put the velocity underneath it, that's when you can actually see the couplet. So that's why I'm telling you that these things are embedded within the rain, because in that reflectivity you saw where the rain was really widespread. So you're not going to be able to see these things tonight. So I don't want you to run outdoors to think that you can spot these things. It's best now that it's dark out to go ahead and take that time and actually get to shelter. Now, as far as this one goes, again, this thing is beginning to widen out even further. So it looks like this thing is weakening even more. I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of let this go to exploration and then go ahead and drop it, because my guess is that while the storm is still spinning a little bit, it's probably not producing a tornado anymore, or we'll have to watch it to see if it actually respins something up. But right now the circulation has gotten very, very wide. And again, as you saw when you put the rain on it, it doesn't even really look like any kind of a tornadic thunderstorm. It just looks like a strong thunderstorm that's coming in your direction. So that's what makes these things very hard to detect. It's what makes these things very deceiving. And this is another reason why we employ spotters and why we have spotter groups out there to help us actually see what's going on, because sometimes we can get a hint of what's going on the radar. Other times we really can't, depending on which feature we're looking at. Nick and Danielle?
Right now, I just want to show kind of an overview of what we have going on. We have those 2 tornado warnings. We're definitely concerned about that, but a wider look at what's happening right now. We have this line of storms lining back up from parts of Morgan County all the way down into northwestern Arkansas into Madison County. Now, the leading edge of these storms has the potential to produce some very strong gusty winds. We have one of those areas right now in Greene County, heading over also in Christian County currently, and back over towards Marshfield as well. We're looking at strong gusty winds here, about 60 miles an hour, and maybe some small hail, no screaming evidence. This is moving over into East Springfield right now, heading over into Rogers, Oak Grove Heights, and back over towards Stratford, riding up I-44 towards Marshfield. So once again, bad time to be on the road this evening. We are looking at some major travel problems along 65 right now, south into Branson, as well as up towards I-44 through Marshfield and even up towards Conway. And these line of storms will continue to work their way off to the east, at least producing some gusty winds, the potential for some rotation. Now, the rotation, I'd say the chance for spinning storms is better in parts of southern Missouri and some of our southernmost counties right now. But of course, something we're watching closely, because all it takes is just a little bit of instability, and we have a lot of share for these storms to work with. So the ingredients trying to come together as best as they can, but these tornado warnings certainly a problem. And of course, rainfall. That is going to be a big problem as well. And I think Ron's going to talk about that coming up in a bit. But I do want to remind you, Nick, do you want to talk about where to go if you are in these tornado warnings?
Yes, absolutely, because unless we get more of these tornado warnings to pop up, I think the latest one that will be in effect until about 7 o'clock this evening. And again, this is where you're going to want to go when we're talking about your safe place. You go down, not up. You go in, not out. So if you're in a site-built home, there's that graphic nice and full for you, thanks to the production staff behind the back. We're talking about as inside as you can, a closet, an interior hallway, a bathroom, or if you have a single-story home, if you can hide under the stairs. Actually, if it's a 2-story home and you can hide under the stairwell, those will be your best places to go. And some of you are fortunate enough to have basements or at least storm pits, storm cellars. Definitely underground is the best way to go. Just make sure that you are outside from any exterior walls or windows as these storms continue to pass on through, and hopefully until these tornado warnings subside. Plus, on this on my iPad here, I'm keeping an eye on some of the power outages showing up, Danielle and Ron. And so far, I'm seeing maybe 322 customers in Douglas County without power as those storms come on through. And whether it was knocked out by wind or maybe from that confirmed tornado, that's yet to be determined. Other than that, I'm not seeing any other big power outages at this time. So Danielle or Ron, I will let you take things over from here.
Yeah, I'll jump in here for a second and let Danielle kind of look at some of the severe weather. What I want to talk about is we do have the tornado warnings that are still active, including here in Douglas and down in Ozark County. But we've also had a tremendous amount of rain, folks, and we had that big line of thunderstorms that Danielle was talking to you about just a few minutes ago. And that thing is right over Highway 65 right now, and it looks like that thing is going to slow down a little bit tonight. So the heavy rain is going to fall on very saturated ground here in the Ozarks, and it looks like this rain is going to keep it up all night long. And so there's going to be somebody here in southwest Missouri that's going to wind up with an additional 2 to 4 inches of rain, with some local amounts up to 6 inches tonight. And again, that's on top of what you see here. And so, again, I'm very worried about the flooding for later on tonight. It is dark out now. If you don't have to travel, I'm asking you please not to. If you do have to travel, make sure you are very cautious, because we may see flooding tonight in areas that don't normally flood. So you could be traveling on one of the county roads that you think you're safe and encounter some water. Remember to turn around, don't drown. These deaths are 100% preventable. Just don't get into the rapidly moving water. So once we get done with these tornado warnings, I think that's the next hazard that we face tonight.
Hey,
Now,
yeah.
because of the rain all night long, we have the polls opening at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So you're going to want to be really careful on what route that you choose in order to get to the polling destination. And you'll notice that they did just issue a new tornado warning for the area around Mountain Grove. So I'm going to throw that back over to Danielle for the information on that. But again, let's watch for flooding as well.
Okay, yeah. So we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. We have a new tornado warning. They have expanded the severe thunderstorm warning to include a larger portion of Wright and Texas County right here. But this tornado warning, a smaller spot over towards Mountain Grove, and that's going to include Highway 60. So we are looking at this potential tornado right now. Let's switch it over to velocity, and we're continuing to look at these storms right.
If I could chime in for just a quick second, Danielle, I was double checking the text from the National Weather Service. They're actually calling this a confirmed tornado with this latest warning.
Okay, are they given a good location for it?
It looks to be 8 miles southwest of Mountain Grove, and it's still moving northeast at about 30.
Okay, so they're looking at this spot right here. And there is the potential for some rotation. It's confirmed, so it is rotating. It is a tornado right here, confirmed. That's going to be southeast of Norwood, heading up towards Mountain Grove along 60. So if you are in this area, you need to take shelter immediately. We'll switch it over to correlation coefficient, and this is going to be lagging behind just a little bit, but there's the debris again. This is maybe a scan a little bit earlier, so you can see right now some debris being lofted, and I'll move this down a little bit so you can see a bit better. That's going to be north of Denlow. So this moving up north now, and let's see some areas right here if they populate. That's going to be Highway ZZ, County Road 449. That's going to be 60 Pridemore Road, Outer Road. We're looking at the potential for this tornado to be causing some damage here. And we'll see, yeah, right here. So we're looking at the potential. This is going to be east of Highway C now, and this storm tracking off to the north and northeast, we'll say. If you are in Mountain Grove, you need to get in your shelter right now. It doesn't extend all the way up towards Morris or Fowler, but Crossroads Store, we're talking about Dunn. You're included in this warning right here. Now, let's see, latest correlation coefficient still not populating just quite yet, but that's an indicator. Yeah, it's confirmed. We're talking about a tornado. This is a look at what radar looks like. This means that the tornado is rain wrapped. If you step outside because you really want to try and find it, you are not going to see it, and you're just putting your life in danger. So stay indoors, take shelter. A rain wrapped tornado causing debris. It's damaging areas right here southwest of Norwood. I believe it's likely going to be right about here in this spot, heading up towards 95, up towards Mountain Grove right here. So a rain-wrapped tornado, the potential for these areas, they're seeing debris. We saw it on correlation coefficient, so definitely take shelter if you are in this area. And we're continuing to track these thunderstorms, trying their best to continue to hold on to this rotation. And we are still tracking this tornado warning back over in Ozark County as well. That's going to be near Almartha, heading up towards Bertha. Bertha not included in a tornado warning right now, but I want to let you know, you need to get in your shelter currently because this could potentially be extended up into your area. It's trying to rotate. It could try and recirculate and produce a tornado causing damage.
Yeah. And if you know me stepping back in here, Danielle, I was keeping an eye on the chat behind the scenes, and we are not discounting the tornado warning in Ozark County. But back in Douglas County with that new extension of the warning, I was looking at a different source behind the scenes, and you could kind of pique my interest. Yeah, like we may have at least two possible tornadoes here. One that's actually confirmed right over the, I believe that is the Douglas-Wright County line, and just to the east of 95. And right north of Van Zant, that is another tornado or possible tornado there. So if this is right, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Danielle. It looks like we have at least two possible, if not two, confirmed tornadoes, both riding either side of Missouri Highway 95, but they're both working away from 76, north of Denlow, north of Van Zant. But that's all the more reason that if you are in Mountain Grove, or if you know anybody that might be trying to head from Mansfield to Mountain Grove or from Kabul to Mountain Grove, tell them they need to halt. They need to stop either around Mansfield or Kabul, wait until the storm passes Mountain Grove, and then they can keep going on 60. And is that another tornado warning?
This is another tornado warning. I think this one right now, we'll see. Let's check velocity first. Maybe a bit more out of precaution, because this is very strong damaging winds with the potential for this line of storms to see some circulation. Very common, these bowing segments to produce maybe some tornadoes on the leading edge. So tornado warning issued. Let's check and see what time that goes.
You're absolutely right, because with our years of experience, Danielle, whether you came out of Oklahoma or my experience just being in Missouri and in Joplin especially, lines like this, you got to be at times cautious if any bit of a southeasterly wind can kind of nudge into this to spin something up, or if any bowing segments can come out and help encourage a spot or two to rotate. So in general, based on the history of what the storm has done, including how we might have had a couple confirmed tornadoes, maybe to the north and west of Table Rock Lake, western parts of Stone County, I would not be surprised if that's trying to spin something up again. And I'm being told we need to head back to the chief. Ron Hirsch, what do you have to fill in with us?
Well, I was looking at that storm that you're talking about, looking at the correlation coefficient. So we've had two areas that we're watching. First one, this is the one that was down by Nob Hill. Down in here, and that has had a debris signature on it for a while. However, that one that you were just talking about, Nick, that was spinning up on the right side of that storm is now also producing a debris signature, and that is going to be just to the east of 95. Now, by taking a look at this, these things are both headed up to the north. This one may be fading a little bit, and this one may be strengthening, and that's not unusual, because keep in mind the whole thunderstorm actually rotates. And so what's happening is that this one actually became rain wrapped, and this one started on kind of the dry side of the thunderstorm, where it actually had some undisturbed air coming in. So this one is probably the one that is going to take over and become the main tornado funnel, and that is going to be just east of Highway 95 going up towards the Mountain Grove area. Now, this is going to go on the kind of from the square to the east side of town, and it's going to be right here on the Texas County line. So this thing is going to move right up the Texas County line on the east side of Mountain Grove, probably to the west of the S&H. But if you're over here by the S&H tractor place, I would be in your tornado shelter, because that's going to be very close to where this funnel actually goes through. So there's actually some new construction on the north side of the highway right there on 60. All that area in there is where that storm is going to be tracking. So again, if you live in Mountain Grove, I'm sure the sirens are going off. You'll want to take shelter. That we do have what's left of this circulation that's going to be coming in on the west side of town, and that's going to be affecting the first exit as you're going eastbound from, say, Norwood into Mountain Grove. There's the steak place up in there, and then that is going to move kind of along the hill and down, probably to the area where 95 and 60 junction in, there by the McDonald's and over by the cemetery. So folks up in there all need to be in your tornado shelter there. And then this one looks to be the stronger of the storms, and that one is going to move just to the east of the downtown area, right along the Texas County line, and then back out over to the farm country, just to the maybe to the S&H, probably I'm guessing just a little bit to the west of the S&H farm implement dealer that's out there. So that's what we're looking at with that storm, guys.
Yeah, I am also looking at some debris from that line of storms moving through Christian County right now, and also into Webster County. So I want to take you in right here. Once again, maybe from a rotating storm. I still am not looking at screaming evidence of a super tight rotation right here near the Sparta area, but I want to show you a correlation coefficient. And this is actually going to be right over Oldfield. Right now, we are looking at some debris being lofted. Currently, it could be back from a tornado causing damage, could be from extremely strong straight line winds taking down trees, also kind of throwing debris around as well. Here's kind of a look at reflectivity, and there is an inflow notch. So this is potentially a tornado right here. So this is north of Chadwick, kind of like that inflow notch that I just told you about. That's going to be along 125 south of Oldfield, but debris being shown lofted around the Oldfield area north of Chadwick. Chadwick, you're included in this tornado warning right here. And there's also a bit of an inflow just south of Chadwick right now that I also want to watch and let you know about. That's along State Highway H, tracking off to the north and east over towards Keltner, included in this, Arden included in this warning. And we have some more inflow notches. This is back right over Rogersville right now. Rogersville along 60, inflow notch currently tracking off towards the east, potentially some rotation, potentially a tornado right there. Henderson, you're looking at some really strong winds. I'm not seeing some screaming evidence of any big rotation there, but around Rogersville right now, we are looking at the potential for an inflow notch and a potential tornado. That's going to be just north of Sparta. Watching this, I don't think that that's going to be causing much right there, but north of Chadwick and just south of Chadwick as well. And also looks like maybe south of the Low Gap area. Right here, we're looking at this area. That's not included in the tornado warning, but let's take a look at velocity. Also not looking at any big screaming evidence of it rotating there either, which is great news. But certainly, at least this line right here, this is a large bowing segment we have, producing some very strong gusty winds into Webster County, about to head over in towards Marshfield. Tornado warned storm also included in a severe thunderstorm warning. If you are in this area, you need to take shelter immediately.
If you don't mind, Danielle, I'm going to step back in here, and I'm just keeping an eye on that tornado-warned storm that's about to working into a Mountain Grove right now. It looks as though, looking at reflectivity or velocities behind the scenes, looks like that rotation has weakened a bit. But if we were to switch over to correlation coefficient, I do see this feature here is actually spreading debris up into Mountain Grove, at least the southern sides of Mountain Grove right now. So I'm not quite confident just yet in saying if this tornado has lifted, but as long as this is still tornado warned, and at least if we're getting debris starting to settle out and fall on top of Mountain Grove, hopefully it's nothing too serious in terms of debris that might be falling if this tornado is weakening. But let's just reiterate again, if you are just joining us in Mountain Grove, we just want you to be in your safe place, because whether this tornado is still in progress or weakening, we've got some signs of debris maybe trying to settle, if not work over Mountain Grove. So you really need to be in your safe place until we can get this warning and at least the signs of this possible tornado out of town.
Yeah, we've seen these storms kind of recirculating. It's been a trend. So back from parts of northern Arkansas up through Ozark County into Douglas County and now into Wright and Texas County, we've seen these storms maybe potentially, they have been confirmed tornadoes in spots, lifting, and then we've confirmed again by radar that they're back producing damage. So certainly something to take seriously. If you are still in Texas County, if you are in Wright County, be sure to be in your tornado safe place, most interior room of your home, as many walls between you and the outside as possible.
And if we don't mind, Danielle, if you don't mind widening out just so they could take a look at the whole DMA here for just a quick gather of what's happening area-wide. If you are mainly to the west of this main line, unless you see something otherwise, it looks as though once you get past the worst of the line of storms itself, your severe threat really starts to drop off. And that's been the overall trend once we have said throughout the past couple of days, once we get on the backside of this line in the cold front, your tornado threat, your severe threat is going to start to drop. But if you're still out ahead of it, let's say east of 65 and about to approach the Missouri Highway 5 corridor, you still need to be at least on guard, even though we're hoping that the tornado threat starts to weaken as these storms work at least a little bit more to the east. But we're still, as long as we still got active weather, we're not going anywhere. We're going to keep everybody safe.
And you know, even though our tornado and severe thunderstorm threat going down, obviously, we still want to watch out for that flooding threat, even in our westernmost counties because of how much rain we've seen. But I mean, the tornado threat is obviously what people are probably most concerned about right now. But even as the tornado threat goes down, the potential for flash flooding will be a concern, especially in parts of south central Missouri where we've seen a significant amount of rain already today.
Yeah, in fact, from radar estimates, if I remember from what Brandon showed this morning, parts of the southern Ozarks, just through the weekend alone, 6 to 9 inches at the highest. And this is the last thing that we want to see. Even though we've been thirsty, we've been craving for beneficial rain, like I said during our package, or my package at the 5 o'clock, this is too much of a good thing. But unless you or Ron saw something different, once we get past the last of these storms late tonight and into Tuesday morning, we're going to have much more dry time ahead to cut back in the flooding risk and let all these floodwaters subside.
Let's jump over to Ron. I think he's got some new information for us.
Well, again, want to talk about that storm that Nick was kind of hinting on. And Nick, you actually made a pretty good point about some debris falling out of the sky. Again, the main debris area is right over here, right along the Texas County line. And keep in mind, we don't know exactly what that debris is, right? If it shows up on radar, it's probably some very large debris in there. So there may be some outbuildings or some homes or something that were damaged, or even large chunks of, say, tree and brush that are being lofted up into the air. Well, as that flies out of the sky, that is a missile hazard, and so we don't want you going outdoors, and probably a good idea to stay away from windows right now if you are in the Mountain Grove area, because that debris could come flying through the window and, of course, cut you. So make sure that you have the shades pulled, the blinds pulled, the drapes pulled. If something does come through, we want to keep that glass kind of confined more towards the outer edge of the house, and we don't want that to hurt you. And that's another reason why we want you in the center part of the house, away from windows and in your safe space so that you don't get hit by that flying debris. But again, watching that storm over here, it is still moving up. It is still a very strong thunderstorm that's going to be moving into the east side of Mountain Grove. So again, even if the circulation does weaken a little bit, it's not that it can't regenerate. They can do that very fast. But again, if there's debris in the air, we don't want you going outside for that reason. It's too dark. You can't see that coming. So you're in danger from that as well. Guys?
So I want to take you back into Douglas County because we have a severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 7:45 today. But I just told you not too long ago in Bertha, you needed to be in your shelter. And we are looking at this storm maybe still trying to rotate. It is severe thunderstorm warned, not tornado warned in Douglas County. But let me jump back here. And so you can see right here, that's going to be this area of rotation right now that we're watching with this severe thunderstorm warning. This is just north of Bertha. You see right here, north of Bertha, over towards Buckhart currently. And I want to give you a storm track on this because it does look like this storm would be tracking north into where we have the current tornado warning. So it's tracking north at about 35 miles an hour. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so the timing right now, Van Zant about 7:16 in about 8 minutes. Mountain Grove 7:31. Severe thunderstorm warning. The potential for this storm to be rotating though. So I want to let you know you're under a tornado warning right now in Mountain Grove, but there's also still some more storms behind you. So once that tornado warning expires, you can't let your guard down. Unfortunately, the storm system's kind of trailing behind one another, and this storm could potentially be trying to cycle and could potentially produce another tornado in your area. Now Dawson, that's going to be 7:41. Morris about 7:45 here. And even if you're in Ann, I want you to be ready. I want you to be in your safe room right now. I want you to take this severe thunderstorm warning as a tornado warning. So if you are in Douglas County in this severe thunderstorm warning, you need to get in your safe room right now and continue to stay weather aware and stay with us. Now, a wider look at what we have going on. Again, we have expanded the severe thunderstorm warning to include parts of Laclede County, to include, to include parts of Webster and Wright County, as well as clipping parts of far southern Camden County. We'll query this, see what time this goes until. This goes until 7:45 today. That expanding kind of on this Boeing segment that has been producing some really strong gusty winds moving through Greene County into Webster County, where we have the tornado warning still in effect, but this Boeing segment producing some strong damaging winds, potentially around 60 miles an hour, having just passed through Buffalo, down through Marshfield right now, about to enter into Conway, and eventually over towards Evergreen, as well as Hartville, as well as Seymour. So Seymour, let's see, are right there on the edge maybe of that tornado warning. So you should be in your tornado warned shelter, your safer and most interior room right there as well. But the potential for some strong damaging winds upwards of 60 miles an hour in Eldridge in Lebanon, guys. The soil is just so saturated, which makes it a lot easier for trees to come down and could potentially fall on your house. You don't need a tornado to cause damage. You don't need a tornado to take your life. So it's something you definitely need to take seriously. These severe thunderstorm warnings are no joke. And of course, we do still have a couple tornado warnings that we are tracking. Do we have any new details behind the scenes, guys, or any damage reports coming in?
Yeah, so I'll take over here for a second. Oop, we lost the radar picture. However, I was watching the debris cloud, and the debris cloud is running from about City Hall through the high school down to about the McDonald's on the east side of 95 here in Mountain Grove. So that is where the debris is going to be falling out of the air. The circulation with this storm has weakened a little bit. We don't quite see it. Now you can see the debris ball is kind of moving on up. So the good news is this thing is moving very quickly tonight. And again, it looks like the circulation has weakened a little bit with that, so I wouldn't be surprised if they let that one go. However, that one that you were watching a little bit farther to the southwest that they had the severe thunderstorm warning on, we'll have to watch that, because what happens is these tornado warnings tend to move back to the south and to the west. And as the storm moves off to the northeast, they'll weaken, and then the new tornadic storm will develop on the southwest side of those thunderstorms. So again, that's where we're going to have to watch for new circulations. And again, that stuff that's been in the Christian County area really does look like very strong straight line winds. It's a huge bow echo. So again, you want to be prepared to be without power tonight. There could be some trees and power lines down. Make sure you move to the interior sections of your house there for any flying debris that we may have. And again, just tons and tons of rain. So the flooding is just going to intensify through the overnight hours. And the models have indicated that that line is going to slow down. And wherever it slows down, that area could have 2 to 4 with local amounts of 6 inches tonight. So again, we want to watch the progress of that line of storms very closely, because as Nick was pointing out, 6 to 9 inches of rain fell early this morning in parts of the Ozarks, and that would be devastating if we got another 4 to 6 in those same areas tonight. Danielle?
I want to do a storm track right now on these very strong winds with this very large severe thunderstorm warning, and parts of it included in a tornado warning as well. This storm is booking it. It is moving very quickly right now, kind of adding insult to injury. So I want to storm track where you can expect and when you can expect these very strong, potentially straight line winds. We're talking about Lebanon around 726. Let's see, it's 713 right now. So we're looking at strong damaging winds there. Diggins, it's moving through right now for you. Roby, you are just out of this severe thunderstorm warning, but just a heads up, 809 for you. Back over towards Richland at 753, and kind of in between here, some of our easternmost counties, let's say that is maybe parts of far southern Camden County, north of Lebanon. We're looking at maybe around 730, 735. You're looking at these strong damaging winds trying to move in as well. So very large severe thunderstorm warning. I'll take this off here so you can see what we're talking about. This large bowing segment lines up, heading up towards Lebanon, moving south down into, now moving out of Christian County, moving into Douglas County. Douglas County, you've been all over the map tonight. Everything happening in your area. We're looking at damaging wind gusts likely moving through here right now, with the potential for maybe a few spin-ups on this line as well. This is heading over into Dogwood currently, over towards Arden, tracking off to the north a little bit more. We're talking about Seymour. You guys are included in a tornado warning as well, so you should be in your safe room right now. Then back along 35, New Grove, I'd say shortly. Niangua right now, you're seeing these strong damaging winds, so if you're listening to me, hopefully you're in your safe room right now. Sampson, same thing with you guys, as well as Conway. Phillipsburg, it's moving in right now. These very strong damaging winds, potentially straight line winds to take down trees and power lines. It does take a while sometimes for these power outages to be reported and come in. However, I am expecting a lot of power outages heading into the evening with these very strong winds, and of course the potential for some tornadoes. So it looks like we just have this one tornado warning, which I think is kind of precautionary, back over towards, let's see, this is out of Greene County into Webster County right now, and into far eastern Christian County and into Douglas County currently. You guys are the only ones now under a tornado warning, and it's for these line of storms producing strong damaging winds, and we're watching some of these inflow notches closely. Do we have any updates, guys?
Well, we have a kind of a programming note here. First of all, the Chiefs are getting ready to play over on KSPR on the ABC, and a lot of folks are very interested in that game. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and broadcast the Chiefs game on KSPR, but we have a very fluid, dynamic situation weather-wise that continues to be dangerous with the potential of tornadoes. And so we want to continue the coverage here on KY3. So if you need weather coverage, we're going to be here. And if you want to sip in and out of the Chiefs game, you can kind of flip back and forth between the two stations, but we're going to be here until these tornado warnings do subside. So it looks like they finally eliminated the tornado warning over here in Wright, Texas, and in Douglas County. It looks like that one's gone. We continue to have the one for this bow echo from Webster County down into eastern Christian County and northwestern Douglas County. That one's going to have some really strong winds with it. We have some new storms that are popping up now to the south of Mountain Home. We'll have to watch those for the potential of maybe some severe weather. And then we've got all this line of heavy rain that goes back just to the south of Fayetteville. So this may be the area tonight where we're going to be looking at that band of very heavy rain setting up. And of course, we're going to be monitoring the situation on that as well. All right.
All right, Ron, thanks for that update, and I'll take over here for a moment because I want to continue to bring people up to date behind the scenes about any information that I found. In fact, there's our touchscreen in full. We are still keeping an eye on any power outages that are trying to come up and about and finally getting reported after all these storms, whether they were tornadic or severe with high wind threats pushing on through. We're going to start with Berry County. We do have about 401 people under Ozark Electric Co-op's jurisdiction without power. We have 96 from Carroll Electric, 1 from Berry Electric. And I want to see if I can actually get Stone County here because we have at least 1,200 people without power, at least from Ozark Electric alone. We have 3 that are out of power under Carroll County's jurisdiction, rather. And then looking back into Douglas County, the numbers have not changed very much here. Only 435 customers without power. That is if you get your service from White River Valley Electric. And we also have Seminole Electric Co-op, 24 customers there in Douglas County without power. Plus, I have been keeping an eye on things behind the scenes, and without jinxing everything, unless we see a new tornado warning pop up, the current one that's still in place should be expiring by 7:30. And I was taking a look at the cameras behind the scenes here, and you saw it from Danielle's perspective. And if you don't mind, back in the control room, if we could, if you don't mind taking our weather cam full, because this will be overlooking the city of Lebanon from the Mercy Hospital. That's looking back toward the south and west as the main edge of that line begins to work on in. I've been scanning the skies, haven't seen anything too suspicious about things popping up, but at the very least, Danielle, looking back toward the south and west, that's at least from any daylight, or not daylight, but any light from the nighttime that's trying to illuminate the sky is showing that those line of storms, they are continuing to haul up 44 and getting ready to head into town.
Kind of query some of these wind speeds we're likely seeing here. We are looking at the potential for some very strong gusts, at least about to head into Lebanon right now. So we'll query this, shows about 53 mile per hour wind gusts likely about to head in. Just queried a little bit south of there, north of Evergreen. Saw some gusts. This is potentially gusts radar estimated almost 70 miles an hour. That's north of Evergreen, and that's also just kind of southeast of Conway. Some gusts about 55, 60 miles an hour. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. I'll turn that back on so you can see here. We are looking at a severe thunderstorm warning in this area. We have a very large Boeing segment moving through, producing at least very strong damaging winds. And we'll continue to watch these storm producing gusty winds all the way down through Webster, Wright County, and even into parts of Douglas County too. Just a small sliver of that tornado warning left. Again, if you're just joining us, you're ready to watch the Chiefs. We're airing that over on KSPR. So don't worry, you're not going to miss the game at all. You can flip back and forth. So we're currently looking at 1 tornado warning, and we have 1 extremely large severe thunderstorm warning and 1 smaller severe thunderstorm warning for this storm now eastern Douglas County. This, I'd say, really weakening. I'm not seeing any huge evidence of a very strong storm now in this area. I do not believe it is rotating at all either, and really not looking at any debris with that too. So we're looking at really good evidence maybe that the atmosphere is starting to kind of weaken. It's not as prime for these, at least tornadoes. One tornado warning, so I don't want to completely rule it out, but no screaming evidence of a confirmed tornado in our area right now. Ron?
Yeah, and I think that, you've kind of pointed out that we do have this one tornado warning left. I've been looking at it as well. I don't see any rotation on there. I think that what we've had is some very strong winds. However, as you pointed out, the winds that are here, I was looking at the winds here when you were up in Laclede County. The winds here are only 25 to about 35 miles per hour along this line. So you're going to get some gusty winds out here towards Diggins, coming into Seymour, and then south of there in southwest or southeastern Webster County, out here on Highway 14 to the west of Aba. You're going to have some pretty good winds out there in the Good Hope area, but right now it looks like they're sub-severe. So I think the strongest of the winds are actually with what we call the comma head of that, and that's going to be up around the Conway area. As Danielle was pointing out, the winds up there are 50 to 70 miles per hour. So Conway, Phillipsburg, Lebanon may be in the path of those very strong winds. And folks up there, be prepared for some power outages. But right now, this southern end of the line where we have the tornado warning really is beginning to look more and more benign with time. So hopefully some good news there that we can kind of rest easy tonight. And if you live over in the Seymour area, stay up on the latest forecast. But I think you can relax just a little bit. I wouldn't let my guard down, but I think you can kind of relax a little bit as that line comes into your area tonight. Danielle?
Yeah, so I'm switching back over. It's been a while since I've showed this. This is going to be your shear tracks, shear, the rotation detector. And earlier we had very large evidence of extremely rotating storms, confirmed tornadoes. Right now, though, looking along this line, we're not seeing any good evidence of any rotation within these storms, even within this tornado warning that we have right here to include Seymour. I'm now out of Olga. Olga, you're not included in that tornado warning. And Arden, maybe just a little small spot right there, but that's kind of pushing it. So this is great news. You see some blue right here. I'm not expecting that to really be anything. We'll switch it over to velocity if it wants to. Maybe not. Switch it over to velocity and we'll see if it shows anything for us.
I can get that over here.
Yeah, okay. I'll take it over to you,
I
Ron.
think that the velocities that you were talking about earlier up here towards the Lebanon area, I think those are the ones that we really need to be watching tonight. And again, very strong winds. Again, clocking at 66 miles per hour there, southwest of Evergreen. There's one at 54. There's some other ones, 59, almost 60. That's going to be west of Lebanon. That's actually going to be over around the Trout area. So folks up there at Bennett Springs, you're going to get some really high winds there. So anybody in campers up there or that is camping is going to need to move to a substantial structure and get away from the trees and stuff that are up in the park. So again, some pretty high winds from Bennett Springs all the way down into northeastern sections of Webster County, but that's actually not in the tornado warning. That's actually in a severe thunderstorm warning. And so again, really strong straight line winds that are up in there tonight. So again, I think that's probably the most dangerous portion of that thunderstorm, and that is traveling up towards the Lebanon area. So if you're in Lebanon, make sure you move to the interior sections of your house and get those curtains closed on the windows. Danielle? Or Nick?
And actually, if you don't mind, Ron and Danielle, it says you did bring up Lebanon. If anybody in Lebanon was curious about how the storm would look like as it comes on in, they're going to have a hard time doing so, because if we could, in the control room, please take our tower cam from Lebanon. It is coming down in buckets. So at the very least, Lebanon is in the middle of those strong winds picking up, like Ron said, anywhere between 50 to at least 60 miles per hour. And not only that, if Lebanon doesn't get any wind damage out of this, and heaven forbid, hopefully we don't get a tornado out of this to spin up, this is more just moderate to heavy rainfall, which could quickly lead to some flash flooding, localized street flooding in low-lying areas, seeing some more ponding after we've seen so much rain over the weekend. So even though this doesn't look quite ominous over Lebanon right now, this is still a storm that's going to pack some wind and plenty of rain, and we're going to continue to keep an eye on the storm as it passes over the city. Danielle?
Yeah, and you mentioned rain, so I want to show you our rainfall totals. This is radar estimated, but it's going to be over the last 3 hours. This just happened in 3 hours, where we're talking about heavy downpours, some localized flooding certainly possible, especially back from Boone County in northern Arkansas up through Wright County, this kind of bullseye area right here. This is also kind of the areas that we've been watching where we've had some of the strongest storms that have produced tornadoes and have been confirmed. But check out, this is going to be east of Branson in Taney County. We have this bullseye right here north of Diamond City that has potentially seen in the last 3 hours about 3.5 inches of rain. So you're likely talking about the potential for some flash flooding in this area, but not even just you all. I haven't forgotten about you in some of our westernmost counties where right now you're not looking at these big severe storms, but you're just looking at some heavy rain and also still some gusty winds in Madison County up into Carroll County. But your rainfall totals really significant here as well in just the last 3 hours around Eureka Springs, north of Huntsville. We're talking about almost 2 inches of rain. These storms kind of training behind one another, dropping a lot of rain back up in Washington County, about 2.5 inches of rain there, and even into some of our southernmost counties here in Missouri. Some of our southwesternmost counties will move further north up towards Berry County around Cassville. That's going to be around 1 to 2 inches there too. Around Mount Vernon, heading over up towards Polk County in Bolivar. While you guys haven't seen severe storms, you're likely dealing with a lot of rain producing some flash flooding. And I want to show you kind of our current watches, warnings, any advisories that we do have. We do have a flash flood warning in effect for Taney County there, that spot I showed you, into Ozark County and up into Douglas County there as well. And of course, we do have the flood warning that continues back from Howell County into let's say Oregon County, Shannon County there. That from all of the rain that you saw this morning, and you'll see more over the next couple of hours. And one also for parts of northwestern Arkansas, a flash flood warning there thanks to significant rain. But even our eastern counties, you guys aren't included in any of these flood warnings, severe warnings, and you've even been removed from the tornado watch. Still a lot of rain could cause some ponding on the roadways. It's dark now. It gets dark very early. So if you're heading out on the road and you run into any flooded roads, you need to just turn around. It's really not worth it. So we'll jump back over to Ron because he has some more details.
Yeah, so we have only a couple more minutes left on that tornado warning down there in sections of Webster and for Douglas County. However, my guess is by looking at the radar, they're probably going to let that expire. But before we go, some new data is coming in on the rainfall for tonight, and this is really important, so I wanted to get this on before we let our coverage go this evening. So we're looking at this very heavy rain, as you have been watching on the radar tonight, and if you draw a line from just west of Rolla, probably around Dixon, down to about Hartville, and then that will extend down to about Forsyth into northern Arkansas. The latest thunderstorm models that we have, we call them high-resolution models because they tend to resolve thunderstorms much better than global models do, is saying that this area is going to get a tremendous amount of rain tonight. And earlier I was telling you 2 to 4 inches of rain with maybe some local amounts up to 6. Well, I've actually bumped that up to 8 inches tonight. And this is sort of piggybacking on what Danielle was just telling you about the very heavy rain in the saturated grounds we have. So this area out here to the east of Springfield, again, this is going to be in here. So my guess is somewhere between Highway 65 and Highway 63. If you live in that area, Highway 5 especially, you guys could get anywhere from 2 to 6 inches of rain tonight with some local amounts up to 8 inches, and that's on top of what's already fallen in the last 48 hours here in the Ozarks. So this is some of the new data. I just kind of wanted to step through it pretty quick. You can see this is going to be midnight tonight, same area getting very heavy rain. There we are at 2 o'clock in the morning, same area getting very heavy rain, and it doesn't really let up in that area until we get to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then you can see right there that we're talking about The rain still happening as the sun comes up and the polls open in the morning. More shower activity for southwest Missouri. So if you vote early in the morning and there's any lines, you're going to need an umbrella. And I do have the graphic on that rainfall total. Let me see if it's actually updated the new totals. And it does not have the new rainfall total in. But this area right in here, they've really bumped that rainfall up. And it's really a tremendously high amount of rain tonight. So flooding is going to be the next concern through the overnight hours. So did they let that tornado warning go?
Yes, they did.
They did let the tornado warning go. Okay, so the team is here. We're going to continue to watch the weather tonight. Know that the tornado warnings have expired. We still have a tornado watch in effect until 9 p.m. And if there's any additional severe weather, then we'll cut back in to bring you up to date. But for now, we're going to go ahead and return you to programming. Thanks for watching KY3.